Hey guys, I'm Brendan Isaac. I'm a motion control operator and cinematographer here at Tasty Studios. Today I thought I'd make a video that talks about using robots like this to get footage like this. In the industry, this sort of work is called high-speed motion control tabletop cinematography. And it's really quite specialized. You obviously need a robot. In our case at Tasty, we have 2 robots that work in unison. You need a camera that can shoot sort of 1,000 to 1,400 frames per second. You need guys that can build specialist rigs for every shot to get the food or the liquids to do different things. And of course, we need a whole bunch of light. A while ago, before this whole global pandemic, we had tabletop director, cinematographer, and all-round nice guy, Jason Hargreaves, come into the studio. Jace has just come back from a big stint in LA, and it was really good to get him into the studio to work on some stuff. We managed to shoot a bunch of shots and shoot a bunch of BTS. So here are the shots, and then we'll break down how we did them.
We be faster than Jacob.
Can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
The first shot we wanted to do involved orbiting around some ingredients whilst they were in midair. Al, aka Dr. Danger, our resident master of rigs, built us what we like to call a kick rig. This rig uses a pneumatic ram to hit the underneath of a surface, which will then in turn shoot all the ingredients above that surface up into the air. Because this pneumatic ram is triggered by the robot, the timing can be perfect. This allows us to get the sequence of hitting the ingredients in the air and when the robot begins its move around them to be in perfect synergy. Because of the action of this shot is over in less than a second, we have to set our Phantom high-speed camera to well over 1,000 frames a second. Whenever you're shooting it at over 1,000 frames a second, you need to move the camera incredibly fast to see any type of movement. There's only really one tool for the job, which is a Bolt motion control robot. Luckily here at Tasty Pictures, we have Australia's first Bolt motion control robot. So let's check out our first attempt. As you can see from our first attempt here, we're close, but it kind of feels like the main action is just above the frame. So in our next take, we should look at keeping everything exactly the same timing-wise, but let's move the end camera position a little bit higher. As you can now see, the camera is at the right height for this action. The ingredients appear to be floating in the frame, which is what we're going for. Since we have now completed the camera move, we can move on to lighting. You can see in this shot, we've added a really nice warm backlight to the nuts, and they look amazing. Now, when shooting super slow motion shots, the magic ingredient to add to any shot is water. As we can see here, Al is adding a little bit of water to the shot. Slow motion water always looks good, as you can see in the next few takes. As you can see, once it's all graded up, it looks pretty magical. The next shot Jason wanted to do was to have a look at some pasta being tossed out of a colander. So Al decided the best way to do that was to attach a ram to the colander so our launcher is also our background, which is great because that means it doesn't matter if we see the launcher in shot. So as the camera wraps around the colander, the pasta launches out of it. We then wanted to add another ingredient coming in from one side and possibly like wrapping over the lens. So we decided to offset another launcher to the side and put the timing back a little bit. As we pop the pasta into the air, the camera wraps around it and the salt, in this case, flies through the scene, and we get a really nice effect when it goes really out of focus as it gets close to the camera. For our third shot, we had the idea of a ring of onion falling off the end of a probe lens, and we sort of like traveled down with it. We had a few different ideas on how to achieve this. One of the ideas was that we basically rest the ring over the lens and we really quickly tip the lens up and it falls off. This didn't seem to work because the onion wouldn't fall in a very predictable manner, and it just didn't really seem to work. The next idea we had was to place the onion in front of the lens and trigger the support away. We would then follow the onions down with the camera as it fell into the oil. It was quite tricky because we also had to push focus as the onion's getting further and further away from us as we went down to the oil. I do admit that on one of our really early attempts when we were using a rubber tray, I did slightly hit the lens on the support because the trigger failed. 3, 2, 1, trigger.
Oh, you nailed that so good.
It was all right, so we kept going on. We ended up building another support that was more reliable, and I didn't feel as frightened when I was pushing a $200,000 Phantom camera into a metal spike. As you can see, with a move like this, it's very important that we start triggering the base away, and then the camera goes down, and we slowly keep massaging these times until we get to a point like this, where you can barely see the support moving away from the lens by the time it comes down. We also got pretty lucky with the perfect onion rotation. It just goes to show that with all this amazing technology, a little bit of luck is still required to get that amazing shot. The shot ended up turning out really well. I think we ended up doing about 5 takes once we had the concept nailed. And for me, this could have been the shot of the day. The last shot here is our champagne pour shot. For me, as a robot operator, this is the most tricky shot of the day, as I have 2 robots to program. One, obviously, being the camera move going over, up, and down the glass, and the second being the pour. This involves setting a keyframe for the beginning of the pour and one for the end of the pour, because at the end of the day, we don't want to waste any champagne. Here at Tasty Pictures, we're very much against this. So step 1 here is to do the camera move. So doing an orbit that goes around the top and then goes down the glass. So, I mean, it's quite a tricky move, and we were literally on minimum focus. So I'm not really using the focus motor here to focus. I'm literally sticking it on minimums and just going over the top and down the glass. The second step is to program the small robot. So he's just doing the pour. I then sync these 2 together. So the big robot goes, it sends a signal to the small robot to start its move, and then they're in unison. Once I have got these moves together in sync, Jason then can work on lighting the scene and working out what he wants in the background. Because we are on minimum focus, the background is quite soft, which means it's pretty easy for us to hide things in the background. I think at one point here we got a tacky old lighting, like light enclosure that I found at home, and I stuck it on a turntable, and Jason pinged some light into it, and it kind of looked kind of cool in the background. So as you can see here, have a little look at the background. It's, as you can see from the BTS, it's completely random, but it looks great. So once we've got the robot moves all synced up, once we've worked out our background, once we've lit it, it's important that we keep the pour the same every time. So that means every time we do a pour, we have to fill up the champagne bottle back to that exact spot so we can replicate the same shot again. Sometimes we might add a little bit less because, you know, there's too much coming out, or add a little bit more because we want more coming out. But as you can see here, we think we got it pretty bang on straight away, and it's a pretty good pour. So you let us know. Write down in the comments if you think I should have had more booze, less booze. If there's any shots you want us to do down here at Tasty for our next video, just write it down in the comments section and we hopefully can look at it. I'm gonna play those 4 shots again. It was a really fun day. Thanks to Jace for coming back out. I know that we're gonna be working with him soon at the studio. Thanks for all the crew that came and donated their time. It was a really great day. We will see you soon. Thanks, bye.
We be faster than Jacob.
Can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop. Okay.
I'ma take you on a ride. I'm gonna burn for the night. Why you so salty?
You sure you can handle